YouTube says I'm live, so I guess that's true. I am alive. And you're looking at a black screen that's supposed to be a screen capture of what would have been an extremely expensive computer in 2010. So I follow a gentleman by the name of. Good Lord, that's loud. Let me fix that real fast. Mute you. Yes. Okay. There we go. I follow a YouTube channel with a guy named Timmy Joe, and he, similar to me, I won't even claim that I do nearly as many computer builds as he does for local folks who are, wanting to do, I don't know why I can't stop fiddling with this damn microphone, who are wanting to do upgrades and whatnot to their systems or want a new system, and he probably buys used parts and flips it, similar to another YouTube channel that I watch called Tech Yes City. But evidently, Timmy Joe has a customer who has a philosophy of, I'm going to spend a ton of money once every 10 years to build a computer. Now, the person who Timmy Joe was helping seemed to have probably, they didn't hit the lottery when it comes to like how much or the componentry they purchased for their exorbitantly priced gaming PC, and they did wind up having to do a GPU swap in probably 2015 or so, and they put in probably what was the most expensive graphics card at the time, the GTX Titan. It's the one that's like basically a 980 Ti, but with 12 gig of VRAM instead of 6 that you normally find on a 980 Ti. That could have been 2005. That'd have to be a couple of years later. Anyway, the GPU that they purchased in 2010 didn't make it to 2020, is the moral of the story. But is that always the case? Like, is there a best case scenario from 2010 that gets you to today? And I think there probably is. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that even the ball in this computer you could have purchased in spring of 2010 would yield an enjoyable or even playable experience in a lot of heavyweight titles today. It would not, even at the lowest of the low settings. But it would yield an experience. It would actually play the games, which, if you'd bought, timing is everything in tech and everywhere else, right? Being at the right place, buying the right technology at the right time can really yield a ton of benefits. Think about people who bought an HD 7970 brand new. They're still playing games on that thing. You can still play games on the HD 7970 from 2013 with no issues. 1080p, no problem. Maybe you're not playing Red Dead Redemption 2 at 1080p high settings, but you could probably still play it. That 3 gigabyte of VRAM really hurts you, and that's what we're dealing with again today. So I took some componentry of a couple of different videos, since they were of my previous videos, and kind of compressed them all into one system here on my test bench to my right. I can shove the camera over and let you guys see that system. It's not really a lot to behold. It's just a naked system sitting in a test bench, but it consists of a let me go through my An Asus P6X 58D Premium, in quotations, premium motherboard. That's actually the name. It consists of an Intel i7 980X 6-core 12-threaded processor, 12 gigabyte of G.Skill DDR3 1066 RAM running in triple channel, because it's x58, and a GTX 480. It's a straight up NVIDIA Founders Edition. It's not an AIB card. It's a Founders Edition card, and I just thought that what better thing to do on a Cinco de Mayo when we're all sitting around with our traditional libations, even if it's not in traditional stemware, traditional. My daughter came down today and she was like, "What is Cinco de Mayo about?" And I tried to explain to her, it's the commemoration of a battle, et cetera, et cetera. And she was like, my Mexican friends, they don't even celebrate this. Mexicans don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo. And I was like, huh. And then I don't know, just endless musings. We're all stuck in quarantine. There's no, college town ragers to go to for Cinco de Mayo. Nobody's doing, tequila shots off the bar, unless you got a bar at your house. But you can sit here and have a nice drink and listen to me ramble on and look at the pictures on the screen here of how far we've come in 10 years. So if my calculations are correct, the RAM in this system would have cost you $240 in the spring of 2010. There is a pretty cool little I don't know where this guy digs this. I guess it's just a bunch of Newegg queries from going back. He's got Crucial and Newegg, and he's got RAM prices listed all the way back to 1957, memory prices. But yeah, so in the spring of 2010, a 2 by 2 gig DDR3 1066. I'm sorry, these are 1333. 1333 would have cost you $90. So with free shipping, they even that would have been a Patriot set. That would not have been. These are G.Skill, so these could have been even a little bit more expensive. Something comparable to this could have been a little bit more expensive. I know the G.Skill Flare came out around this time period, and I don't have a set of those, but if you did, those would have been the penultimate RAM that G.Skill offered at the time, and I imagine they were considerably more expensive than a set of Patriot 1333s for a 2x2 set. Yeah. So we're looking at a minimum of $270, and we're probably talking more like $300 plus just in RAM, right? And the GTX 480 at release was $500, and I want to confirm how much the 980X cost. I'm thinking is over $1,000. I know the motherboard that this is sitting on had an MSRP, had an MSRP of $300, $299 when Asus released the premium version of this motherboard. There was a version before it. I forget what the nomenclature was. It's the same lettering, but it was not premium. It was something else. So the premium version of this motherboard's $300. Talking about $300 in RAM. We're talking $1,000 for the 980X and $500 for the GTX 480. So quick math there, $2,100 in components, give or take, plus shipping and tax, plus a case, plus your storage, your RAM, or not your RAM, your storage, your hard drives. I mean, there were SSDs back then. You know, you could have got like a 40 gig SSD maybe. That would have been exorbitantly expensive. But, you know, probably this motherboard supports RAID. You could have had, you know, six hard drives connected to this thing, and a big old, you know, Cosmos case. So probably all in, you're looking at, let's just call it $3,000. $3,000 in 2010 for a 980X, this Asus motherboard, 12 gig of RAM, and a GTX 480. In 2010, you would have been blazing through games. Everything that came out through 2010 through 2011, even 2012 and prior, like, you would have just been roasting them. Your frame rates would have been rock solid. There would have been no issues, because the texture packages back then were just not really, you know, capable, or not really set up to take that much memory, that much VRAM. Game developers just didn't have, other than Crysis. I know somebody's going to drop into the comments, oh, what about Crysis? Yeah, Crysis, you still could have played Crysis on this. This will run Crysis at 1080p. It will. I don't have an optical drive to throw on here that's just laying around, but it will. I've tested it before. I just don't have. I've gotten rid of that optical drive that I had, so I can't hook it up. But it'll run Crysis. Don't get it twisted. This will do it. But let's just look back at what I'm going to call it, a $3,000 system. If you built it yourself, right, and if you were able to get these components at MSRP, I don't know. I mean, I didn't have a lot of money in 2010, so I wasn't a big, you know, I wasn't really bird dogging i7 980Xs online or in retail shops, looking to see, you know, what the MSRP price translated to street price. I can imagine there's some fudge in there, right? So that's why I'm just going to call it 3,000, because we got 1,000 for the 1,000 for the CPU, 300 for the so 1,000, 1,300 when you put the motherboard on there, 1,600 when you put the RAM on there, 2,100 when you put the video card on there. You got case, power supply, storage. 900 is a lot for that. Let's call it $2,700. I mean, I don't know of any other components in the spring of 2010 that would have competed with this for price point. AMD's 6970 maybe, but yeah, it's a lot of money. It's still a lot of money. I mean, for that money now, you know, comparably, you could probably get an i9 9900 KS and a pretty banging Z390 motherboard, 16 gig of, you know, probably 3600 megahertz RAM, and RTX 2080 Ti. Yeah, you'd be right around the $2,500 mark in parts there. $2,100, $2,500 mark in parts, maybe even a little bit under. I didn't talk about the cooler. Let me slide this over so you guys can see the test bench here. No, you see that? Yeah. So there's this. This is an Intel. I guess is their stock Intel heatsink for the Extreme series CPUs that came out in 2010. So all, you know, the i7 900 series, 920, 930, the 980X, and then eventually the 990X that comes a few more months down the road in 2010. This Intel spec'd this cooler for all of them. It's just a little 4 heat pipe fin stack cooler with a fan on it. It's interesting. It does have an adjustable, like the fan curve is just set. I mean, it just runs. I have it on the high perf mode, and it just runs full bore all the time. I don't know if you can pick it up on the mic or not. It's noisy in here. So yeah, I wondered. So let me know. Send me some comments, guys. Like, what do you think about that philosophy of, man, let's just slam a ton of money into a PC once every 10 years, and that's gonna and I'm just gonna ride it out from there on in. I'm gonna take the eventual eroding of that system's performance over time, you know, and just and use my investment. So I'm not sure that I'm 100% on board with that, but when I look at this, like, this system right here is built with a ton of hindsight, right? There's no way to know in 2010 that DX11 and DX12 are coming. I mean, you can kind of theorize that there's going to be new APIs, the video environment that games run in. But you would have no way of knowing when you bought a GTX 480 that NVIDIA would release driver updates that would allow you to carry onward with those new video APIs. So I think when this was released, it was I think DX10 was on the table. So yeah, I think it was running DX10 when this was released. And then DX11 came along a few years later, and now we're on DX12. And the fact that this video card is 10 years old and still runs, modern DX11 titles in that API is something. Because if you have something like, if you were spending a crap ton of money in 2007 and you bought this, right? You bought this graphics card, an 8800 GTS. You might have bought two of them if you were really balling and put them in SLI. Hell, you might have bought two GTX 480s and put them in SLI, because that was still pretty popular thing to do in 2010. But if you'd bought this card right here, this 8800 GTS, just a couple years earlier, you would be stuck. You'd be absolutely stuck. This will not play a video game that's DX11. I think the last firmware or not firmware, but the last driver push for this got you to DX10.1, which is, that does extend the life of this card, because this card came out before DX10. Yeah. So, if you'd wound up buying something else besides a GTX 480 that was current and modern at the time, you may have been required to purchase a new video card due to software updates, or programming environment and video API updates that you could not have foreseen, right? Just because a video card will boot up in Windows 10 doesn't mean it will play modern games at all. As we're about to see here, right? Yeah, so I see a user just joined. So happy Cinco de Mayo. I got two whole viewers on the stream here. I know we're all stuck indoors, and we're just if we're lucky enough to be provisioned, we're enjoying and of the mindset, we're probably enjoying our traditional Cinco de Mayo libations. It's also Taco Tuesday. Happy Taco Tuesday. My kids should be upstairs making my tacos soon, so you might hear some noise of the floor creaking or whatnot. It's solid state alchemy. I'm in my basement. I'm in the underbelly of the YouTube algorithm. I'm doing a live chat on Cinco de Mayo. I got 2 current viewers. That's cool. I think that they might even count me as one, so I got one person out there. If you're out there and you're watching, throw something in the comments. But yeah, I don't have anything better to do on Cinco de Mayo when we're all in quarantine than talk about old computer parts. So, yeah, the premise is, I watched a video from another YouTube channel where the that channel's host is a little bit like me, where he um, builds computers for folks and sells them locally, and then he also does like computer kind of contracting a little bit. He builds computers for local businesses and builds computers to order, which I don't really do. You get it the way I wanted it, you just don't get it. Uh, that's not true. I modify on request. But he had a customer who had a philosophy of spend a whole bunch of money every 10 years and then just ride it out. Ride that system out for 10 years. You know, uh, I'm not, I have not lived my entire life as a very wealthy person. And, there were some times when I bought the cheapest computer that was available and rode that for close to 10 years. So, I can kind of get behind that philosophy. So let me know in the comments what you think. Is that viable to you? Do you think that makes sense? Does it make sense now? If you have money and you want to build a new computer or buy a pre-built computer, does it make sense to spend as much money as you possibly can and get as high end of a computer as you possibly can and then just ride that till the wheels fall off? Or do you get more of like a fixer-upper and you just, you tinker and you replace components as they age into to a point where you don't like the performance anymore? You know, um, I kind of see the merits of both arguments. If you are a PC person, and if you're watching this channel, you probably are, um, it makes sense to not spend a whole crap ton of money on one PC build because there's always something better around the corner, right? Um, if you had purchased, I will say there's probably one time period where uh, it would have made sense recently to do this. If you had decided when the second generation of Ryzen came out, the Ryzen 2000 series, you know what? I'm just going to go out and I'm going to get myself a Ryzen 7 2700X, and I'm going to get just the most badass X470 motherboard out there and a crap ton of RAM. And I think at the time you probably would have still been stuck with the 1080 Ti. Terrible, Uh, if you'd done that when second gen Ryzen was released, you'd have a 1080 Ti, a 2700X, and a really awesome motherboard that I'm sure would be on one of the lists to receive BIOS upgrades now. And I would even say, 10 years down the road, you could probably get away with a processor upgrade. You could probably put a 4000 series chip 10 years from now. I'm talking about buying a used 4000 Ryzen series chip 10 years from now. And whatever the current, super awesome. Well, we're probably going to transition to PCIe Gen 4 on everything. So probably whatever the best PCIe Gen 3, which I guess would still be a 2080 Ti. But 10 years from now, will a 2080 Ti be able to handle it? I don't know. Hopefully future, and that's the other thing, you just can't, you can't control for the variables of when new technology rolls out that is just no longer backwards compatible. The switch from DDR3 to DDR4. Right now we're staring DDR5 in the face. The switch from PCIe 3 to PCIe 4, we're staring that in the face. There's actually some problems with, not problems, but some teething issues with the new Ryzen systems that have, on the X570 motherboards that have PCIe Gen 4, 4.0 enabled. Some folks who are putting PCIe 3 video cards in them are having to go into the BIOS and like manually fiddle with that, because sometimes they're just getting artifacting or weird stuff's happening. So it's an interesting, conundrum that we all find ourselves in. Is when to purchase, what to purchase. Um, do you wait for a this is kind of like my philosophy on the whole thing is I wait for a paradigm shift. Once everything that is brand new is DDR5, PCIe Gen 4, and transitioned off of the AM4 socket, X370 motherboards will be dirt cheap. They're already pretty cheap. Um, and you can still run a 3950X on a nice X370, you know, specifically, the Gigabyte AX370 Gaming K7. That'll run a 3950X all day long. I mean, it's got a ton of its VCore section, its power section is strong. And you give up some quality, you give up a little bit of the fun stuff you don't get PCIe Gen 4. So if you want some super awesome, crazy fast M.2 storage drives, then maybe you'll miss out on that. You don't get as many PCIe lanes, but it's still, way cheaper to buy stuff once the next gen that makes that no longer forward compatible. When that gen clock when that turns over, that's the time when people start to value that stuff less. It's still fully capable. I still think that an X370 with a 3950, as long as you get the right, you got to do your research. The right X370 with a 3950X on it will take you far, far, far into the future, and it might reach this, 10-year paradigm that we're talking about in this video. But let's turn our attention. Enough of me rambling here. Let's turn our attention to our spring of 2010 system here. Again, just to recap, if you join late, I think we've only got 2 viewers, so it's a 980X, 16 gig of DDR3. I'm sorry, not 16, 12 gig of DDR3 and triple channel, GTX 480 sitting on an Asus premium motherboard. Whole system cost, if you could get it at retail at time of launch in 2010, you're looking at bare bones $2,100. Then you got to find a power supply, a case, and storage to go with it. But just your material, just your core systems cost is $2,100. So we'll call it $2,500 to $2,700. So let's let me switch to my OBS here so I can kind of see what I'm doing. That is still pretty small. So I'm going to have to start looking over to my right because the system is actually connected to a monitor that's off screen. You're seeing the screen grab of the monitor, but I have to look to my right here to actually see the screen. So I'm going to close the change your tune here. I got Counter-Strike Global Offensive going on. Let's go into the settings here and go into video settings. Widescreen 16:9, 1080p. Let's do full screen. Apply those changes, and we're gonna. So it's already defaulted me to low. Let's just. Does this game not have just like a default? I guess not. So let's go to medium on everything. Let's just turn everything up a notch. Turn the wick up a notch. So we'll go ×4. FXA is enabled. We'll go that ×4. No vertical sync. Motion blur's off. Triple monitor mode is off. I'm going to apply those changes. Okay. Let's play. Let's see what we get. I hope you guys can see in the top left-hand corner the frame rate there. We're looking at 119. Oh, yeah, casual. Let's do it. I'm a casual kind of guy. So it's going to be interesting how many Cinco de Mayo gamers we got on CSGO right now. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. There might be. Oh, the match is ready. That did not take long. 291 frames per second in the loading screen. Pretty sweet. It's initializing world. It's probably going to take half an hour because this computer's 10 years old. Now, I don't have a 10-year-old power supply. Actually, I think I do, but it's an HP 230 watt, and it would just catch on fire if I even tried. If it even looked in the general direction of this. What am I going to be? Counter terrorist. Cinco de Mayo. We're going to go with the good guys. Are they the good guys though? So this is not bad. Match starting. 130. We're at like 130 some frames a second. 120 frames a second. This is medium settings on a 10-year-old game. I'm terrible at first-person shooters, by the way, just so you know. But yeah, this is infinitely playable. So, Counter-Strike Go is a win. Initially. Creeping. Oh, he got me. He's trying to pie it. I'm trying to pie it. Man, they are putting down some serious fire. Firing blindly. Oh. Alright. Like I said, I'm terrible. But as you can see, medium settings, 1080p on a 10-year-old system, CSGO runs. No issues. That's 120 frames a second. That's like actually, competitive, frame rate. And I did not really notice any hiccups or stutters in this. I mean, there was no hitches, nothing, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I know Counter-Strike. I know Counter-Strike goes old as sin. It's super easy to run. I'm just firing blindly at everything. All right. Gonna hop out here. Why will this not let me hop out? Oh. Guess I'm stuck in an ever-repeating loop of Counter-Strike. I'm gonna go somewhere else. So there's a guy there. He shot me. All right. I'm just gonna crush this. Counter-Strike Go and in task. All right. So I know Counter-Strike Go has been around a long time, but it's an easy game. It's an easy win for the old fella. All right. I'm trying to throw up some softballs here at the beginning. Gotta help it out a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to be a short video because I don't think once we get to these other games that it's going to go as well. Yeah, I don't think it's going to go very well. It's just my opinion. Let me look at the chat here. Still, nope. There's 2 people watching. It says I'm live. You guys are out there somewhere. Somebody will watch this someday, maybe. Probably not. But yeah. Check my messages here. While we wait on this game to load. Clash of Clans. It's just weirdness. Yeah. Depending on how the rest of this goes, we may. I may have to like reconsider my position because I think I am definitely in the tinkerer camp. You know, the camp that wants to just, you know, buy whatever's kind of like affordable now. Um, you know, gets decent performance now, and then move forward in, you know, 2, 3, 4 years. Maybe I'll upgrade this, change that. Um, but I could definitely see the appeal of never really having to muddle through an upgrade that doesn't pan out well. You know, I've had those go. You know, man, I think the very first GPU swap I ever did, the drivers just drove me crazy. The drivers drove me. Yes, they did. The drivers drove me nuts. And that was tough. That was a tough thing to go through because, you know, I wasn't very affluent. I'm still not very affluent. So I got a side gig and a YouTube channel. But it was rough to spend that kind of money on a new GPU and then have it not work because of driver issues and me not understanding how drivers worked and how to uninstall, and you know, it was a whole big rigmarole and a mess. That was a long time ago. Um, yeah, I remember putting a new. Oh man, I was like over the moon. I got a 16 speed CD-ROM back in like 1995, and that was expensive. That was like $500 for a CD-ROM. Can you imagine that now? $500 for a CD-ROM 15 years ago. I just bought my son an external CD-ROM for his computer for $21 on Amazon, and it's half the thickness, and it connects via USB. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how far we've come in some aspects of computing world. Oh, let's play this game. Again, I'm going to put my terrible gaming skills on full display for you. I said I could build them. I didn't say I could play them. And test them, actually. So I'm not getting anybody in the chat. Let me know if you're out there. I understand you probably want to just eat tacos and drink tequila, and that's cool. My tacos aren't ready. Like I said, kids are making tacos. You play. Always fun. Oh my god. So yeah. Let's I'm not gonna type this for everybody to see, so we're gonna go and we're going to lose that for a second while I type my Uplay stuff in. Sorry, super embarrassing. Okay. Can I just play Rainbow Six Siege, please? Thank you. You know, I love having launchers inside of launchers. That is like my absolute favorite thing in the world. You'll notice a distinct lack of any Microsoft Store games here because I don't got none. I got rid of that crap. I'm just on my Steam library right now, and I haven't gone through and subscribed to the Origin game service yet, but I'm going to. But I did cancel my Microsoft Xbox Live for computer, or Xbox Game Pass for computer for PC. Check out my rant video on that if you want to see what my feelings are, but you can tell that I don't have any, and the reason is it sucked. Consult a physician before gameplay. Never really noticed that. I never noticed that they said consult a physician before gameplay. Like, that's I mean, I guess if you got epilepsy, that's pretty terrible. I mean, yeah, I would not want to get, hemmed up just because I want to play some Operation Void Edge, which is the dumbest name, by the way. Void Edge? Like, what does that mean? That doesn't conjure up cool guy images of people shooting people in the face. Void Edge. They need my help. Yeah, I don't really care about that. Oh, okay. Let's go to settings, options, graphics. Display. This is what I want. No, I don't want windowed. I want full screen. Apply. Several years later. Okay. And then graphics. So I got it on low. And that's because I was doing a CPU comparison. But I'm going to crank her up. High is really the... Well, hold on. High, very high, ultra high, custom. Okay. So, ultra, very high. 2 on this side, 2 on that side. Yeah. High is really kind of the medium. Let's just go with that. Let's apply that and see what happens. Either this thing's going to explode and catch on fire, or it's going to be fine. Looks like it's fine. So let's just run the benchmark first and just see, what kind of goodies we're in store for. Oh, well, let's see. Options. It was giving me some warning about the driver. Hey, you're running a driver that doesn't get good performance in this game. Yeah, I got it. The driver for the GTX 480, I think, was last updated in 2017, which is impressive. That's when they did the DX11 and DX12 updates. So let's run the benchmark. Let's just see what happens. This is going to be either just amazing or amazingly terrible. It's not as bad as I thought it could be for high. There it is. Sub 30. Yeah. Okay, so high is probably stretching it for this game. You know what he expects? 10 years old. Good lord. Cut some slack. Stop being so hard on it, you guys. Jeez. God. You guys are terrible. And when I say you guys, I actually mean no one, because no one's watching this. Ooh. Yeah. 42 frames a second. Average. Tips down into the 20s. So let's just go and see how medium does in the benchmark, and then I'll play around and see how that feels with medium. see if we can get it closer to a 60 FPS average. Nope. It's the VRAM. Look at that memory usage, 1300. 1300 megabytes. Yeah. It's just getting pegged. It's muy malo. Oof. Woofda, as my good friend Bob used to say. Yeah, still dipping down into the 20s on the men's. 47 or close to 50 on the averages. But, oof. So, yeah, it looks like we're playing Rainbow Six Siege on low. This is my shock face. Shocked, I tell you. Shocked the gambling going on in these cafes. Alright, so... and escape there. So let's just play a game. Yep, newcomer, that's me. Because I'm just terrible. Matchmaking going down. So here's the thing, I mean, yeah, it's 10 years old. You spent a crap ton of money 10 years ago. And 10 years later, it's, it's not the best experience. And it's time to upgrade. It's definitely, if you own a computer with these components, it's been time to upgrade. But interestingly enough, I mean, if you do own a computer that has these exact components in it, you could probably just get away with upgrading to a cheap modern day graphics card, and you would be right back in it. Like if you took this setup and you just put a GTX 1660 Super in it, you would be like absolutely yep, I'm recruit. If you put a 1660 Super in this exact same computer that you spent $2,700 on 10 years ago, you buy yourself another 3 years for about $200 and some dollars. At least another 3 years. Because right now, as far as I know, there's no instruction set that 980X can't run. So unlike its AMD brethren from the same year, it's AMD 6-core brethren from the same year, the 1090T, which is a 6-core 12-thread part from 2010. It is missing an instruction set that it's capable of running. That means that CPU can't play. I think it's not Fortnite. It's the other one. So yeah, this is not awful. Right off the bat, I've been spotted. People are gonna shoot me. That's okay. I have no idea what I'm doing. I really am a freaking boot. I'm just walking around. I'm gonna press F for respects. really have no idea what I'm doing. I didn't read anything about the mission or what I'm supposed to be doing. It's an action phase. I'm sure everybody on my team is like, who is this Pogue MFer in here who is just walking around like an idiot? You know, I'm a YouTuber, I'll have you know. I want to vault this. Ooh. That was probably a bad placement of that. I was hoping that would go over the... yeah, I killed myself. Sweet. No idea what I'm doing. I haven't played that game in years. Let me stand right next to my thing and pop myself. Boom! There I go. Here's the CC camera footage, closed caption, or a closed circuit TV. So, that was not terrible. I know it's on low settings. Even on low settings, Rainbow Six Siege doesn't look like total crap. It doesn't look great, but it doesn't look total crap. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting conundrum. Like if you bought a 10-year system, quote unquote, for a crap ton of money, and then you wanted maybe just to upgrade that system later. I don't know what I'm doing. What does this thing even mean? Oh, I'm like, all right, shutting her down. So yeah, Rainbow Six Siege, low settings, 60-ish frames a second, 60-ish. For 10 years old, I'll take it. Now here's where it's really gonna get interesting, because this is the next game I have in the lineup. And, you know, this is how I roll. I didn't even click on this to see if this would open. I have no idea what's going to happen. This is like truly not staged. I have no idea whether the next two games I'm going to click on will even run or open, or they're just going to tell me to F off because I only have 1.5. It's like 1.48 gig of VRAM. Yeah, let's just find out what Metro... What is this? Which one is this? Metro Last Light says to us when we click on it. Well, that opens. Promising. Yes, yes. Oh my god. Sometime today. Here we go. We'll go with a new game. Yeah. 30 frames a second, which on a game like this, I guess. Oh, this is just cinema stuff. It's probably capped at 30 as we go down to 29. Shooting all the things. And I'm getting chewed up. Whatever. Bye back, guys. So, in that crazy little scene there in the thing, getting about 40, 41 frames a second. I can't really see because my screen is kind of washed out by the studio lighting here. But I guess you could say that this is like cinematic quality. It's better than 30 frames a second, but it's definitely not 60 frames a second right now. So, yeah, 10-year-old system running a... God, when was Metro Last Light released? What is this, 2016? 2015? I gotta look it up now. Got the hand phone here. Hand pin. Metro Last Light. Oh, 2013. Okay. Well, that was when the console came out. When was the PC version released? Oh no, Microsoft Windows 2013. So yeah, I mean, I would hope. Actually, so I guess this is like the most telling thing, right? This game is only 3 years older or newer. This game's 3 years newer than this system. This system's only 3 years older than this game. And yeah, it's already like having trouble getting it to 60 frames a second. Let's take a gander at what our video settings are. 1080p. Oh, we're very high. Very high, and we're not quite at 60. We can pop that down to high. Keep everything else the same. And then, bam, we're over 60 frames a second. So, I mean, it won't be 60 frames a second in every single instance, but you'll probably be a lot closer. So, yeah, you can't run Last Light. So that's a good, like, indicator, I think, of where you start to see the degradation in capability. If you follow this paradigm of, like, I'm going to spend an epic amount of money to build an epic PC. In 3 years, you're going to have to start turning settings down in games, right? When you buy that PC and it's brand new, you're probably going to be able to, just walk into just about every game, turn everything up to, mein Leben or whatever it is, and get 60. And get 60 frames a second. And in some games, you'll be able to do that at 4K, and get 60 frames a second. But in 3 years, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. And I have a feeling that that's what's, with Cyberpunk coming, Cyberpunk 2077, that's going to bring a lot of really hot current day high-end systems back down to earth. They're not going to be able to run 4K 60 FPS on 2077. You're going to need a 3000 series GTX card from Nvidia probably to do that. And I'm not even really sure if a 2080 Ti runs Red Dead Redemption 2 at 4K max 60 frames a second all the time. I bet there are dips. I bet there are dips below 60 for Red Dead Redemption 2. So, if that's the paradigm, you want a game. You want to just be at the absolute apex of what's available, like today, right? 900 or 9900 KS RTX 2080 Ti on a 4K panel, trying to get 60 frames a second at 4K and everything, or at least maybe 1440p with a super high refresh 1440p. You want 144 hertz, 144 frames a second at 1440p for competitive gaming. You know, that's not going to last very long. In 3 years, you're going to have to go from max settings down a notch, and in 3 more years, you're going to be at either another notch down to high or medium, and then 10 years you're going to be at low. And you'll be really lucky if you win the lottery, so to speak, and pick the graphics card that supports the next generation of APIs, right? You have no way of knowing in the spring of 2010 if you're buying a card that's going to support 10 years worth of video APIs. That's a legitimate concern that's a legitimate weakness or downfall of the plan of, like, I'm going to spend all the money and this computer's going to last 10 years. There's just no way of knowing whether it's going to be compatible with new software, new technologies that come out in game development that are just going to leave you sitting on the sidelines. You're not going to be able to run new games. If you had bought, like I said, if you'd bought the 8800 GTS, what do I have that's concurrent? Yeah. So if you'd bought this graphics card here, which has a water block on it, but don't let that fool you. This is an HD 6970, right? And let me do just a quick Google search and see if an HD 6970 what APIs it supports. So HD 6970. Let's do so this was released later on in 2010. Actually, this was released in like the fall of 2010. So this is actually a little bit newer than the GTX 480, and it's a 2 gig model. But does it support DX12? No, I don't believe so. So Newegg has a listing for a Sapphire Dual X Radeon 6970. It says it's DirectX 11 only. It's used very good and does not support DirectX 12. So there you go. Even a newer card than the GTX 480 would leave you struggling. Okay, so here's Guru 3D here. So DirectX 12, see what the oldest. Yeah. So the oldest, the oldest AMD graphics card that supports DirectX 12 is going to be an HD 7730, as far as like a discrete graphics card, right? Yeah, so if you got a 6970, no DirectX 12 for you, even though that's a newer card. That's surprising. That's, maybe that's an NVIDIA versus AMD kind of thing. AMD's over here like fine wine, and NVIDIA's like hold my beer. But that's interesting. So there's a lot that goes into this whole idea of, can a video card or can a PC last for 10 years. This PC, I'd say yes, it could. It could last for 10 years. Like there's nothing stopping me from um, playing any of the games I've played so far, but they're a little bit older and dated, right? So yeah, you know, uh, Metro Last Light is still a beautiful game. It's still fun to play, but it's 2013. So let's see if it'll run Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That's going to be like my last attempt to see if it will run a more modern game. So let's look at options. Full screen. Yep. We're gonna enable DirectX 11 or DirectX 12. I just want to see if it'll do it. If it'll run Shadow of the Tomb or Rise of the Tomb Raider in DirectX 12. We got one GTX 480. It's going to be in 1080p. VSync is off. I'm going to turn anti-aliasing off, just to give the old boy a break here. Okay, and we're going to play. Will it run? Will it like even load? Will it even load Shadow of the Tomb Raider? I'm not so sure. Oh, it did load. It's got me through the loading screen. Or almost through the loading screen. Alright, so let's just run a benchmark. Actually, hold on. Let's go and see options. I'm fairly sure that we're going to be... Oh, no, let's not do... Let's do lowest. Lowest. Yep. Okay. Back. And we're going to go back again. And we're going to start the benchmark. So, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Again, not the newest of the new game. When was Rise? I know Shadow of the Tomb Raider's newer. $2015. So does this computer last 5 years? So we're on low right now. And when Rise of the Tomb Raider came out, it was a little bit like Red Dead Redemption is now. It's tough. It's tough on GPUs, right? So this is lowest of the low settings, and we're hitting 40 on the high end. And this is the toughest part of the benchmark, this geothermal valley. Oh, it's doing okay. Yeah. So 5 years in from buying a computer in 2010, one of the most demanding AAA titles to come out in that time span, if you'd bought this computer in 2010, Rise of the Tomb Raider, requires you to be on lowest setting to hit 60 frames a second. You could turn it up probably and get to so you could turn it up a little bit and probably stay at 40-ish if you wanted to go to like not lowest but just low. But yeah, so I'm starting more and more as we kind of work our way chronologically forward. We got a 2013 game, we got a 2015 game, and we start with two just easy softball first-person shooters But even Rainbow Six Siege needed to be on low settings to get just 60 frames a second. I don't think that's a good strategy. Like, I don't think throwing a ton of money at a brand new top of the line computer and then trying to ride that out for 10 years is a good strategy. I think it's a waste of money. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure, having gone through this little experiment with you guys, for the last hour and change, that, yeah, that's not a good plan to, unless the only game you're ever going to want to play comes out the year that your system's brand new, and you're just going to play that game for the rest of for the next 10 years, I guess that's the only, if your library is not going to get updated for those 10 years, then that's fine. But if you want to play new games and you want to keep accumulating new games, buying a system and then just, buying a be-all, end-all system and then just trying to ride it out for a really long time is not going to work, because in 2 to 4 years, the moderately priced equipment of the day will outstrip the best of the best of just 2 to 4 years ago, right? So GTX 480 in 2010, if you waited until, the 780 Ti came out, or not waited, but I mean, if you, the 780 Ti is just absolutely, would smash this thing. A 970, would smash it also. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you could probably always get the mid-range of what's available now and come out ahead money-wise. Or you can buy used. You can buy one generation behind, and definitely come out ahead money-wise, and just constantly kind of roll it over. Just roll it over. I can see some of the merits of like never having to tinker with your system. I built it once, buy once, cry once type of thing. But I just really don't think that that's a philosophy you can apply to computers. The innovation and the just absolute, the implacable, I don't know how to say that word, ability of game developers to just leverage all available hardware to the maximum and just make it so that, we got games that are going to have 2080 Ti's crying just a year and a half after launch, 2 years after launch. So, yeah. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. I hope you enjoy your libations. I know I did. I'm going to head upstairs and make myself another one and try to corral my kids into making me some tacos for Taco Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble about, this philosophy of, buy once, cry once type of computer buying versus incremental improvement over time. It's a good discussion. I wish there were more people out there listening who would, interact, put something in the comments on the stream. But that's cool. You guys are doing stuff. You got lives. Who am I kiting? You're not doing anything. You're stuck in your house. You're just doing tequila shots with your cat. Put something in the comments. No? Nobody? Alright, that's cool. So I'm Mike. This is my channel, Solid State Alchemy. I do live streams every once in a while just because I get bored. Yeah, probably going to do another one soon. I'm going to do like a computer build marathon. Going to live stream for like a million years all day. I got a bunch of inventory on parts that I need to liquidate, and I'm going to build a bunch of computers and sell them locally. And I'll give you guys like a little bit of insight into what that looks like when I start to just get after it on the computer build stuff. I don't know if anybody cares, but it'll be fun for me. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Thanks, guys.